Hey, it's Jono. Now, do you feel completely and utterly overwhelmed right now? You've got a million things that you need to do. You're not sure where to start. It's generating all kinds of stress and anxiety. It's maybe making that kind of imposter syndrome dragon rear its ugly head. Well, here's the good news, because in this video, I'm going to walk through 3 really simple steps that you can go through today that will significantly reduce that feeling of overwhelm and also reduce that feeling of stress and anxiety. Now, let's start out with some good news, because overwhelm is completely normal. It impacts absolutely everybody. It's nothing specific to you. It impacts people who are brand new in their career, who are interns, people who are right at the top of a business like a CEO. Everybody feels this from time to time, and I certainly have as well. And it's actually a testament to you, because it means that you are passionate, you're focused, you are motivated, that you're creative. And a creative mind is a busy mind and can generate all kinds of things that we want to do. Now, the other piece of good news here as well is that it's completely solvable. Over the course of my career, I've worked with hundreds of different companies, and many of them have experienced overwhelm. And the 3 steps that I'm going to walk through in this video have consistently helped to reduce that feeling of overwhelm and reduce that feeling of anxiety and stress. Now, before we go into the 3 steps, I want to share with you the golden rule of overwhelm. And this is really important, so please stop looking at that other browser tab, stop thinking about what you want to do tonight, okay? And focus on the sentence that I'm about to say, because it's really critical in helping you to crack this. And that is that overwhelm is not about the number of things to do, it's about the clarity of what to focus on next, okay? Now, all too often when we feel that awful feeling of overwhelm, we feel like we're just overloaded and just drowning in things that we have to do. When we're in that kind of stressful state, it makes us think about all the things that we're not doing. Oh, I wish I'd gotten back to that person quicker, and I've dropped the ball on this particular thing, and that's where it kind of becomes cyclical. But here's the thing, we as human beings, by definition, will always have more things that we'd like to do than time available, right? Because if you think about everything that you need to do at work and the initiatives that you're focusing on, your community, your devrel, if you think about your hobbies and your family and career ambitions and other things, there's always way more things to do than time available. So by definition, what we need to do to crack this is to not focus on the number of things that we have to do, is to focus on what are our next set of steps. Now, the 3 steps that I'm about to walk through will help significantly with overwhelm, but you've got to go through them. And all too often when people are experiencing these kinds of issues, they start browsing for books and watching YouTube videos and learning about how to fix an issue, but then they often don't do anything with it, okay? So I want you to commit to yourself right now, just privately, in your own head, that you are going to commit to action, that you're going to commit to doing these 3 things. Because if you're not willing to commit to this, then you might as well stop the video right now and go do something else, because it's not going to be helpful. All right, so let's dig into it. Now, the 3 steps that I'm going to go through are going to take about an hour's worth of your time. So first of all, go and pencil that hour in. Okay, go do that right now. Pause the video and go and put 1 hour into your calendar, whether it's later today or whether it's tomorrow, whatever. But do it in the next 24 hours, because we get better results when we commit to action right away. So go put an hour in your calendar.
Have you done that before?
No.
Now, I want to assume at this point you've got your hour in your calendar. And now let's move on to step 1. And step 1 is that you're going to write everything down. Now, to do this, we're going to go full on analog, right? So put your computer and your tablet and your phone and all of that kind of stuff away, okay? Because when we get into the physical space where we can write things down on pieces of paper, we can move them around, we have this spatial proximity, that in itself helps us to think more clearly. We're detached from our computer, we remove those digital distractions, and it helps us right away to get better results. So what you're going to need is 3 things. You're going to need a flat surface like a desk or just the floor in your office or in your home. You're going to need some post-it notes so you can cut up little bits of paper, and a pen. And what I want you to do is I want you to think about everything that you need to do, whether it's something small like fixing a blog post or whether it's something big like running a conference, and just write everything down. 1 item per post-it note, okay? It doesn't have to be, you know, the conference broken into 8 post-it notes. Just write down, run a conference on that 1 post-it note. Write down, fix that 1 blog post on the conference. So just get everything down. 1 item per post-it note. And think about basically what you need to do over the next 6 months, right? Don't worry about deadlines and priorities and who owns it and how important it is. Just get everything that you feel you need to do down, and the things that you want to do, get those written down as well, not just the things you absolutely have to deliver. Now, as you're thinking about this within the context of community and devrel, there's a million different things you're probably going to want to consider here. There's going to be blogging and social media and running events and hackathons and gamification and getting feedback from your community members and stakeholders and creating funnels and sending swag out, all of the kind of things that you're thinking about doing in your community or your DevRel initiative, get all that stuff down, okay? Now, everything that we're doing here is about building an amazing community or DevRel initiative. And for that, you're gonna need an amazing community platform. And that leads us to this video's sponsor, which is School. Now, School have built an awesome community platform that turns your passion into a community. It's got a raft of different features, such as community forums and chat. It's got email campaigns built in, gamification. You can upload and run online learning courses in there. It's got great metrics. It's got affiliate programs. So if you're wanting to run online communities, doing courses, group masterminds, product development, fan communities, you should totally check out School. So go and check out the link to School in the video description down there. Okay, so to recap, we've written everything that we need to do down onto those post-it notes. But remember, overwhelm is not about the number of things that we need to do, okay? Doesn't matter if you've got 100 post-it notes written down there. Overwhelm is about the clarity of what we focus on next, and that leads us to step number 2, which is where we implement the urgent and important matrix. Now, the urgent and important matrix is a really powerful yet simple tool that you can use to organize the prioritization of things that you need to do. And this is seriously helpful when it comes to combating overwhelm, okay? Now, it's basically a quadrant, okay? 4 squares. And across the top of the quadrant, you've got urgent and not urgent. And on the left side of the quadrant, you've got not important and important. So the top left square is important and urgent, and the bottom right square is not urgent and not important, okay? So now what you're gonna do is you're gonna look at each one of your post-it notes and decide which square in the quadrant, in the matrix, you are gonna put that post-it note. Now, urgent means that it's something that should happen very quickly. It should happen in the next couple of weeks, okay? Important means that it's very important, that it's something that's a high priority, but sometimes things that are high priority are not necessarily super urgent, right? They're things that you definitely want to do and you want to get to, but they can happen a little bit further down the line. So for things that you feel like you have to do right now in this week, you want to put them into the important and urgent square in the matrix, okay? For things that are very important, you want to get to them, but they're not super urgent. They can maybe happen next month or a couple of months from now. You can put them into the important but not urgent square. Now, don't be surprised if you go and put some of these post-it notes in a chosen square and then you change your mind later on, because as you start seeing the groups of post-it notes appearing, it's going to give you a real sense of what your actual priorities are, what's really urgent, what's really important, and a sense of the timeline that you're operating on, okay? So don't be surprised if you're moving things around. That's completely normal and part of the process. Now, when you've completed adding all those post-it notes, just take a step back and take a look at what you've created, because that in itself should start giving you a real sense of clarity of what you need to focus on next, which is in the urgent and important, and then what can come after that, which is in the non-urgent but still important. Now, when you've finished adding all of your different post-it notes into the different squares of your matrix, take a step back and take a look, first of all, at the important and urgent square. What are the types of post-its that you've put in there? Are there some similarities in terms of the types of projects or the types of work that you've put in there? And you'll probably find that a lot of that's related to what your stakeholders are expecting you to do, or things that are immediate needs within your community or your DevRel initiative. Now take a look at the important and not urgent square and get a sense of the types of items that are in there as well, okay? And this in itself can just add a lot of clarity in terms of what generally you should be focusing on more immediately and what can wait. Alrighty, so now let's go on to our third and final step. And this is where we're gonna start work immediately. So what I want you to do is I want you to look at the important and urgent square, take all of those post-it notes, put them to one side, and let's say you've got 6 post-it notes in there, and I want you to order them from 1 to 6 in terms of what you'd like to work on next. So number 1 is gonna be the very next thing you're gonna do, and 6 is gonna be the final thing you do out of all those different post-it notes. Now, the reason why we're doing this is because it's much easier to organize those 6 post-it notes that we've pulled out from maybe 100 that you had in total in your post-it notes, okay? Now, these are the things that you're gonna work on literally right now. When you finish completing this exercise and you start work, you're gonna go onto post-it number 1 that you pulled out and start work on that right away. Now, the reason why we're doing this is because in the science of action, of how we do things and how we get results, is people who are highly productive tend to commit to action immediately, right? They learn something, they want to try something, and they just do it right away. And then they start iterating and iterating and iterating, okay? So we've identified those 6 things that you should focus on next. So what's important is you don't wait a week for you to do those, because if you wait a week, you might not get to them. What's important is that you do them right away, and you work through them 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 with those 6 different Post-it notes. You work through them consistently until they're all done. Okay, so now we've dealt with the urgent and important Post-its. Now let's move on to our important and not urgent Post-its, okay? And we're going to do something very similar. Let's say there's 5 Post-its in that square, and you're going to, again, prioritize them from 1 to 5 in terms of what you need to focus on next. But this is the key distinction, is you are not even going to think about touching those until at least 2 weeks from now. So take those 5 important and not urgent Post-its and basically assign them deadlines 2 or 3 weeks out from now, one by one. So let's say you'll start out with the first one 2 weeks from now, and then you'll get to the 5th one 4 weeks from now, for example. Now, this is the key thing that's really important to remember in dealing with overwhelm, is that you've mapped out those important and not urgent items for 2 or 3 weeks from now, and I want you to forget about them. I want you to not even think about them. I want you to remember that they've been taken care of, we've prioritized them, we've evaluated that they're important, but they're not urgent. Forget about them and just focus on the important and urgent items that you mapped out over the next week or so. Now, you're probably going to be thinking, but what about the not important and urgent and the not important and non-urgent items? Well, all of those, frankly, don't even think about them right now. You've got plenty to do over the next couple of months with everything that we've covered already. And then what I'm going to recommend you do is you repeat this exercise about once a quarter. Beginning of every quarter, you go through the same kind of exercise, writing everything down, mapping out your matrix with the quadrants and putting all the different Post-it notes in there. And that will significantly help you to manage the overwhelm. Now, if you're building a community or devrel initiative and you want to generate consistent community growth and engagement and demonstrate results every quarter, you should absolutely check out my Community Leadership Core. This is an industry-leading accelerator with personalized coaching, roadmaps, and training, an amazing private community that supports each other. So check out the link in the video description down there where you can book a call with us, and I'll see you on the next one.